That's it.
Yeah, what's up, folks? And to all the other people who are tuning in by way of Facebook Live, YouTube Live, the app, wordradio.com, and all the other ways that you might be able to connect to us. A tin can and a string, perhaps. Glad to be here with you each and every Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. It's the Power Hour. Sitting across from me to help hold it down this morning is none other than Bishop Dwayne The Rock. Dwayne David Royce. Stop. Big as The Rock.
And sitting across from me is the Reverend Dr. Mark Kelly Tyler.
You could take The Rock. Come on,
I
man.
can take the rock. I'm bigger than he is.
That's what I'm saying. That'd be a wrestling match to see. There you go. And making sure that we're all good and behaving this morning is Kawesa, and she's got her hands full. What's up, Kawesa?
Good morning.
How's life?
I'm living. So there it is.
Yeah?
You are yet alive.
Yeah, well, so listen, folks, this morning got a lot to cover, a lot of ground to cover. If you're watching on Facebook Live this morning, do us a big favor, hit the share button and send that out to friends and families. You can always post your comments, and we try our best to get around to lifting those up as well. We don't have a whole lot of time on a 1 hour show, but we're going to do the best that we can to cover all of the things that are out there this morning. And I just saw the Facebook Live feed go. So there we are. So my brother.
Yes, sir.
It's like 4 years has come and gone, and like we're right back where we started. I understand that the $20 bill,
Yes.
the $20 note is back in front of the President of the United States. And unlike the last one who had this strange obsession with Ye of the Trail of Tears, Andrew Jackson. Man, Andrew Jackson. He probably is the person who created that is, the only good engine is a dead engine line. Probably came from him. I mean, what a racist.
Absolutely.
But that's the guy Trump wanted. He had a picture of him in the Oval Office. And he currently, is the $20 bill. But before Obama left office, there was a deal arranged with the Treasury Department to have Harriet Tubman. I mean, just what that symbolizes, to remove Andrew Jackson, who did so much to the detriment of black and brown and red people in this country, with a freedom fighter who lived at the same time and who symbolized everything that he was not. And of course, Trump put the brakes on that. But I guess they found the plates, and Harriet Tubman, the Black Moses, is getting back on the 20. And I understand they're moving like at breakneck pace, because they're like, you got to get these bills cut before 2024. We don't know what's going to happen next. Put Harriet on the money. What you think about it?
I think that that's fantastic, and I think this is another way that Joe Biden is trying to show black folk he's delivering for them in many ways. This is important. This is a piece that was really disappointing when Trump came into office. It also demonstrated to us the fickle nature of being the president of the United States. Harriet Tubman is not just an African-American hero. She's a worldwide hero and figure for liberation and freedom. So, to be able to see her on our money, it was also a deep reminder to us of the value of her as a black woman, the value of her as a freedom fighter, liberationist, abolitionist. I think it's a wonderful thing that's going to happen, and I look forward to using that $20 bill as much as possible. One of the reasons that she's actually on the 20 is that it's actually one of the most used bills that's out there. We'll be looking at Harriet Tubman all the time instead of looking at an old white man.
It's funny because, where I grew up, we would have called a 20 a dub. I don't know if they called it a dub. Yeah,
we didn't call it dubs here. We didn't do that.
We called a 5 a fin. We called a 20 a dub. And so I guess now we would call it a tub. Get that tub? Let me get the tub. Bruh, why I ain't got a tub for you? You better get out of here. You are not getting the tub today. Speaking of black women who have done great things, I'm glad to see Congresswoman. Maybe one day, who knows? But right now, Sheriff of Philadelphia, Rochelle Blau, first black woman sheriff of Commonwealth, well, the county, I should say. And also glad to see State Rep Darisha Parker. She says she is in Harrisburg getting ready to work. Speaking of Harrisburg, see Tawanda out there as well, holding it down. Glad to see Will Mega in the house. Got a new book coming out. Book cover looks good. Glad to see Kanisha, Kathleen, Rob. What's up, Rob? Connie is in the house. Bishop Peggy, Mabel, and others. Glad to see all of you all. Tracy, Melissa, Gail. Thank you all for helping us keep the show going. They're all unpaid production assistants. Because when we forget something, we just simply, say whatever, and they just throw it out there. Yeah, they called them.
I've never heard anybody call a 20 a dub in Philadelphia. I've never heard that. Never.
Dude, well, all right. So Rob says that's some hood stuff. It is hood stuff. You think it's kind of where I spent all my time. And Will Mega says, yeah, they called them dubs. Of course, in every hood they called it a dub. But
I've never ever heard the $20 bill referred to.
Where'd you grow up, man? Where'd you grow up?
Where I grew up in Philly.
Where?
I grew up in Mount Airy.
There you go. That's why.
What are you trying to imply? What are you trying to imply?
I like a dub. A what? This is Mount Airy, sir. Chestnut Hill, Mount Airy.
I've never heard it referred to as a dub. That was a lesson for me today. So thank you for sharing. Yeah.
All right, well, I got some more stuff. I'll tell you offline. It's not from radio. Get Will to call in. We three-way call and share some more stuff with you. Hey, listen. So speaking of black women, there's a great story out in The Root. And it's talking about how Joe Biden almost blew the endorsement. Yeah, you did.
I read that article. Yeah.
Yeah, so
I believe that. I mean, it's true.
So James Clyburn only wanted one thing from Biden during the debate, one of the primary debates, and that was to acknowledge that he would appoint a black woman to the Supreme Court. And he was fumbling around. And so they said toward the end of the debate, he hadn't said it yet. And during the last commercial break, they said Clyburn goes up on the stage, goes to the back, like apparently Mayor Pete is right there, like trying to hey, how you doing? He said he just brushes. They said he brushed him aside, like, get out of here, kid. He said, where is Biden? He said, I told you last night that you better say this because we are listening. And if you want my endorsement, and if you want the support of black women in this country, you need to make that kind of commitment. And he felt, according to this report, Clyburn that is, that saying that meant even more than saying that he would, put a black woman on his ticket because of the lasting impact of the Supreme Court. And just, again, the fact that I appreciate Sonia Sotomayor, and she's doing a great job, but an African-American woman has not had that position. So, but I guess that's what kingmakers do.
Yeah. It was actually, first of all, there are two journalists that are writing a book about that. And I kind of chuckle because I'm like, black folk knew this already, right? That Joe Biden owes his presidency to Jim Clyburn. We've said it on this show multiple times. You've heard it mentioned on this station multiple times. That Jim Clyburn revived Joe Biden's campaign by endorsing him, getting up there, shedding a tear about how it was his wife's great friend, his late wife's great friend, and that was pretty much it. South Carolina just fell in love with Joe Biden, and that was what revived his campaign because he was on life support, literally at that point, about whether his campaign would move forward. I then interviewed Jim Clyburn for Solutions. He and I actually had a chance. I did an interview with him, and Clyburn was like, look, I cut the deal for Kamala Harris to be the VP back during the South Carolina primary. I told him, I said, if you want to win, you need to bring Kamala Harris on board to be your VP. So, he said, because he has this fish fry that he does, this big political fish fry where all the candidates show up. And he basically told Biden then, you need to bring Kamala Harris on to be your VP nominee. And so it worked.
Well,
it was a smart move.
Well, see, let me just say this. I'm pretty sure we have said it before, but it bears repeating. And this is what frustrated a lot of, white folk who are progressive in the primary, which is, this support of black people behind Biden, and again, largely because of people like Clyburn, who came out and said, look, y'all, this is the way we need to go, and South Carolina blacks. So as people talk about it was rigged, no, it was not. These are not like, people who don't know better. Nobody understands white America better than black America. I mean, it's just true. Yeah. We kind of know you better than you know yourself. And look, hey, who's not surprised by the Capitol riot or insurrection? Black folk.
I called that. Let me just say that.
You were saying it the entire time, like, they gonna do something, man. They gonna do something. They sure tried it. I mean, if they brought their guns,
I was saying it months in advance. I said it months in advance.
Listen, because you know what? We know you all. That's right. We just know you, and we know what you'll put up with and what you won't put up with. We know America ain't ready for Mayor Pete. It's on the way. And it'll certainly get there, maybe, 4, 8 years from now. That's where we're trending, but we ain't there yet. America wasn't ready for Kamala on the top of the ticket yet. But America was ready for a different old white man, period. It's like we knew what y'all wanted, and we gave it to you. And as much as you kept kicking and screaming, telling us, no, we're like, no, this is the old white guy. Not Bernie. He's cool, but he's too extreme for you. And by you, we mean your relatives in the Midwest. So
I think, the interesting thing about Biden is that he had black street cred, right? Yeah. In many ways because of Obama. But he was also able to tell that story of growing up in sort of rural America, growing up in Delaware, first in Scranton and then in Delaware, that connected deeply with, white folk that were, out there. And then I think the other thing about Biden is that Biden is, this is going to sound really bad, is the anti-intellectual. So he's not, he's not the professorial Obama or the political elite that, that are often talked about in the Democratic Party and the progressive movement. But this is a guy that took Amtrak to work every day, right? A 2.5-hour commute going back and forth to work every day, right? He was a working man's guy. He was everybody's Joe.
He's the shop steward.
Yes, absolutely.
He is the union guy who made good and represents the other union folk, but he's more polished.
Yeah, and he's not that polished. That's the thing about it.
I said more polished than the other union guys.
That's right. So he kind of comes across as being normal and living a regular life. His wife's a school teacher. She's a teacher. So I think, when everybody else has all these glamorous things going on, he's just like, and he talks straight and he makes mistakes and he gaffes when he talks. And, I think people can relate to him. And then but what he did do was bring in the intellectual black woman, right? The highly articulate, very intellectual black woman to come in and be his running mate. And I think it just made for a great combination and actually setting her up to be a president.
So I say, Tawanda said, she said in 2017, let me talk about stuff, calling stuff. So on my previous show on another station, I'd been saying for months, Biden-Harris is a winning ticket. In fact, when Biden had his inaugural event for the primary, I was like one of the only black preachers there. You remember?
I remember you called me.
I sent you
called me after that.
And I'm standing next to Dwight Evans, and me and Dwight are talking, Congressman Evans, and we're like, this is the only way to go. It looks like nobody else there, right? Like no electeds, no black preachers, nobody wanted to touch Biden. And when he came out, he did not look good. And we looked at each other, but Congressman Evans kept saying, don't worry, Rev. He gonna get better. He just rusty. And I was like, I hope so, man. He looking pretty frail and bad. He said, don't worry. He gonna get better. Thank God he was right. And let me just say, he actually is he's a lot sharper now than
Oh
even
yeah,
he was.
absolutely. They work
And
with him.
yesterday, I want to say, and this is why, this is important. Elections matter. So I see Joe Simmons like, okay, what about our plan now? Yeah, right. A part of our plan is having the right people in place on a national and state level to help us protect our interests. That is also a part of our plan.
Hmm.
And so COVID-19 has continually disproportionately impacted the Black community.
Right.
The Trump administration had multiple opportunities to get this right. I mean, it did not have to be the fiasco that it was, but for 3 months while he was, fuming over an election he was about to lose and then ultimately lost and then trying to somehow overthrow it, he had no focus on the vaccine rollout and taking care of American lives. So they're almost starting from scratch, right?
Hmm.
But I was really encouraged yesterday to hear him talk about, and being backed up by science and scientists, that they envision that in the not so distant future, we will be vaccinating 1 million Americans a day.
Absolutely.
And the real goal is up to 1.5 million a day.
Hmm.
That's critical, folks, because all of us keep, we're in this world, we keep saying, when can we get back to normal? Well, getting back to normal requires good leadership and people who are disciplined and focused. As our good friend, Elder Melanie DeBose says, slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah.
And so if you're vaccinating 1 million to 1.5 million people a day, by the end of the summer, it is realistic to believe that when you're talking about opening schools again in the fall, and all of the things that, again, are quote unquote normal, we can begin going back to those lives again. And so this is important because we have lost so much in the last year. And I'm praying for the people, who need to be vaccinated and who yet cannot get there just yet. So I just appreciate it. I know it's 6:20, we're up on the break. So we gotta do that. But when we come back, let's continue this conversation. And I'm going to talk to you about Target, too, putting targets on Black people's back.
Oh, geez.
Not good.
No.
I mean, I know the store's called Target, but I didn't know y'all really put targets on us. I'm sorry, man. I got the bearer of bad news this morning. We'll be right back on the other side. It's the Power Hour.
Attention WURD audience, do you know that you can get help with your PICO energy bill? PICO is here to help you with financial help through various assistance programs, including the PICO CAP program, which provides a monthly credit for eligible low-income customers based on the customer's total household gross income and energy usage. If you are experiencing financial hardship, you may qualify for the PICO CAP program.
And PICO Cares is the customer assistance and referral evaluation service designed to assist special needs, low-income customers who have a temporary personal or financial hardship that prevents the payment of your PICO energy bill. If you have a special needs child or adult in your care, your household may qualify for the CARES program.
Call 1-800-774-7040 today to see if you qualify due to an existing situation or a change in circumstances within your household. Call 1-800-774-7040 today for more information on the PICO CAP or PICO CARES program. PICO, powering our communities.
You know that feeling? Like every door is closing and you just can't see a way out? Being unemployed, underemployed, or just out of school can feel like that. But when you find the right tools, suddenly everything just clicks. FindSomethingNew.org offers resources that help develop new skills. Skills that can position you for careers in today's growing industries, from healthcare and manufacturing to cybersecurity and alternative energy. Find your path to a new career at FindSomethingNew.org. A message from the Ad Council.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent Black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. This is Dwayne Royster along with Mark Kelly Tyler. We're here Monday through Fridays from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. to bring you the latest in news, happenings around Philadelphia, and, of course, our opinion. Hey, just a couple of things since we were just talking about COVID and things that were happening with that. There's a report at NBC 10 that Dr. Fauci is saying that double masking makes sense. So I don't know about you. I mean, there's now a variant in South Africa. There's a variant in Brazil. There's a variant in Europe. Many of us heard recently that President Biden has closed the borders to nationals from each of those countries. because of these new variants coming in and trying to slow the spread of COVID-19 in the United States. But then there was, and actually it came as a result of the inauguration where we saw Amanda Gomes and Pete Buttigieg and others that had two face masks on. And so there was an interview that folk were having with Dr. Fauci, and they were asking him about double masking, and he's like, no, it makes a lot of sense to double mask. It reduces the spread of the virus and makes it harder for droplets to be able to get through. So actually, it's actually kind of funny. I've been doing this probably since I heard about the European variant. I double mask. I have a surgical mask on and then the cloth mask on top of that to provide protection. And what was really funny, I was reading the article, and they said the next thing to do is add a filter to the cloth mask so you really get a triple layer protection, which I had planned on doing anyway. So just a FYI for folk out there, certainly double masking can't hurt, and it might actually be able to help. I mean, there's no scientific fact to that yet, but that, any studies that anybody has done, but it can certainly make a big difference in this particular moment as we're trying to contend with this rather virulent new forms of the disease that are coming out that are much more easily transmitted. And the British scientists are saying it's potentially deadlier. So we should listen to them very clearly. As Dr. Fauci said, he's listening to them to determine, what's happening with this new particular strain of the COVID-19.
Well, yeah, I mean, so I'm like you, I had to take a flight recently, and it was a short one, thankfully. I'm still not doing like those long California trips. But, bruh, you should have seen me, man. I have a N95 one, and that bad boy's like strapped all on your face. Then I threw the disposable, like surgical one on top of that, threw the rubber latex gloves on, and I'm like, yo, stay away from me. All right, you sit over there. I don't even need to we can acknowledge each other with a head nod.
Yeah,
I appreciate that, but we don't even need to talk. It's all good. Flight attendants, no, I don't want anything to drink.
That's
no
right.
peanuts, nothing. Just keep it moving, lady. Keep it moving. Sir, no thank you, right? I mean, because again, it is like that serious to get this far in the pandemic, and you want to be extra careful as you get toward the end. Now, speaking of that, so the Black Doctors Consortium, Dr. Ayla Stanford, who, I mean, man, if she doesn't get a presidential medal,
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I swear, this is, and I know it's a Philly-only story, so sometimes it's hard to get that kind of national recognition, but she has been an absolute heroine in this moment. She and all the other Black doctors, shout out to all of them, but you got to have somebody who is the one who elevates it first, right? And certainly with the help of her pastor, our friend, Reverend Marshall Mitchell, who really kind of opened doors for her. So in the early days when they wanted to do testing, everybody was afraid of going to places. So who do you trust in moments like this? Your faith leader, right?
Right.
And so churches started to open up. People like Reverend Wilder and others would, open it up for testing, and they got tested, which gave people encouragement and said, well, if my pastor can do it, I guess I can too. Well, they're doing the vaccine now. And so I don't know if I told you this, but I think I'm gonna get the vaccine soon.
Really?
Yeah, because, so speaking to them, there, now there's this rumor that Hank Aaron died because of the vaccine. Hank Aaron, Hammer and Hank, as we talked last week, passed away, but it was like weeks after he took the vaccine. But, don't let facts get in the way of a good story, right? It's like Hank Aaron took the vaccine, he died the next day. No, he did not. But it is having an impact on scaring people into not taking the vaccine. So you should do it too. And I'm going to talk to them because, again, they need to see people, that they know, who they, trust, and that they believe, look, you're going to give it to me straight. So if you got it and, something happens to you, then I know. But if not, you see us on the radio every morning. It's like, see, it's all good. Right. And but it is really important, though, that we stress, listen to scientists, not to Facebook. So Facebook is not a scientist. And YouTube, by the way, because some of y'all always sharing me stories about this person and that person on YouTube.
Oh, YouTube got crazy stuff out there.
You can have a doctor in front and in the back of your name. Dr. Smith, doctor. That
with
don't mean
schools that don't exist or on paper only.
what the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
Nothing. And so I'm just saying. So I'm going to get it, and I'll make sure that it's like public when we do it, so that folk know, and you should as well. And speaking of the black doctors in Philadelphia, so I see this controversial story you were just telling me about on break. What's going on with this other group that the city is working with, and why is the city working with anybody other than the Black Doctors Consortium anyway?
So I don't fully understand. This group to me, came out of nowhere. I'm like, I never even heard of these folk. And they were actually, this guy that founded it was a student at Drexel. So this is Philly Fighting COVID. And they were a group that kind of emerged. They originally were just doing some other things. They weren't even really focusing on this. And somehow eventually they got to being able to provide the vaccination. But somehow they started out as a nonprofit group, and then they changed their status to for-profit. And they have another arm, which is the arm that's handling all the registration. So evidently WHYY sent out a request to the city and said, what's this for-profit corporation that we're signing up with when we go to get the vaccine? And in their, when you get online and you're signing up for stuff, they, check box for this, check box for that. There's actually a box in there that basically says that your information can be sold. your contact.
Wait. Hold on. Is this Facebook we're talking about, or?
No, it's not Facebook. It's on their website. Yeah.
So it sounds like, right?
Right. So evidently, your personal information could potentially be sold. So because the city thought they were doing business with a nonprofit that was keeping the information private, but now they created this for-profit arm that was collecting all this information, this data on each person that was, coming in. So name, age, occupation, where you work. They were catching all kinds of information. And as a result of that, the city, when they found out, because WHYY asked them about it, they canceled the contract. So Philly Fighting COVID no longer has vaccine, is no longer going to be initiating shots, or at least not under the auspices of a contract with the city of Philadelphia.
So what happens? Wait, what happens then? So if you got your first shot from them and you need to go back for your second shot, did the city say in the story?
I don't know. It doesn't say anything about that, because it just looks like they literally snatched this. They found out over the weekend and they snatched it and killed the contract right then and there. So now I know that the city unveiled its own website last week when people can get access to it. So maybe they will eventually figure that out and put that information, can go from there.
I got an idea, City of Philadelphia. Call Dr. Ayla Stanford, bro. Right.
Well, actually, they said that the city health department is working with the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium. I don't know what to tell you. I never even heard of this group. I'm like, huh? What? And they were advertising on television and doing all this other stuff. I'm like, who are these people?
But I remember when it was the height of the testing and when money started coming in from the federal government. Again, some of us had to go lobby with folk on council about cutting the black doctors in, because they wanted to give it to all these other larger white organizations like this that were claiming that they could come in and do. They weren't even doing it yet. And we're like, you do know you have somebody who's been doing this, right? In church parking lots, in CVS parking lots, Walgreens, they're all over the city, and they have a lot of credibility and people trust them. Why wouldn't you just use them and give them the lion's share of the money and then cut the other people in? Sometimes we do things so just backwards, man. It's just really frustrating. And again, it's not like we don't have our own experts. And by the way, thank you, Tawanda, who mentioned that Dr. Stanford is actually statewide now.
Wow.
I didn't even realize she was working outside the city. So, Fauci.
Let me just add this real quick. This says that the health department are currently working on shifting future vaccine allocations to other providers. They're also scheduling new clinics to ensure people who were vaccinated at Philly Fighting COVID's clinics at the Pennsylvania Convention Center. These folk at the convention center will be able to get their second dose. So the department will be in contact with all those people to set up their new appointments. So that
So Asa Khalif says the city will give a contract to Miss Piggy before black folk. Well, Asa, that's unless Miss Piggy is black. but I agree with you, man.
Mm.
That is insane. So yes, all right. So City is in a partnership with Philly fighting COVID. Again, if you got your first vaccine from them and you're trying to figure out what to do on the next one, don't stress and panic. I'm certain that they're going to find a way for you to get the second vaccine, but you might want to start checking on that now. And I'd start making my plans and arrangements now and get ahead of that beforehand. So I do want to ask you about a more national story, if that's all right. So I know that your sport is politics.
Yes, sir.
So it's game time. This is going to have an impact on all the things we're talking about: vaccines, wages, all of this. Because right now the Congress is split 50-50. They have I'm sorry, the Senate. Thank you.
Yeah.
And the Congress almost as well. I mean, it's so
right. The close is very close. Yeah.
Yeah. And so typically when a new president comes in, up until now, his party, one day that'll change, but his party has always lost seats, right? But Donald Trump is still around making noise. And he's going to probably wreck the careers of a lot of Republicans in primaries in places where they should be safe. And that means you're going to have a bunch of QAnon, stop the steal, super extreme people running for office that honestly become easier for Democrats to beat, in certain places. Some of these places they're going to win, but on a statewide basis in places like Ohio, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, places like Iowa. There are a lot of races that are about to become competitive. So yesterday, Rob Portman, the Republican senator in Ohio, who is a safe seat, just like Pat Toomey is safe. He's joining Pat Toomey. He's like, I'm tapping out, bro. He says it's just too crazy. And he literally said, you can't get anything done. And I'm tired of it. And I'm wondering how many other people. Grassley in Iowa will be 89 should he win again. Not that that matters, but people are thinking he may retire. Marco Rubio, Florida is always competitive. All these are all 2022 races. Right. North Carolina, Florida, Ohio, PA, Wisconsin, and this actually may be one of those rare opportunities where tradition gets turned on its head, and that the Senate may become more blue than it is right now, and again, fueled by our greatest secret weapon, Monsieur Trump.
Yeah. So, it's actually interesting though. Portman is not a conservative, right? He's a moderate Republican. And one of the things that they're concerned about for Ohio is that seat could flip the Democrat very clearly. So it's an off-year election. I mean, for them, it's not a presidential election. There might not be a lot of energy around that seat. So there's a possibility that it could become something very different than what we're experiencing right now in terms of that. I think that there are a lot of things that are going to happen in the Senate and the House. I'm concerned about the House actually losing seats in the midterm and the Senate picking up seats. But we still would need 60 votes to be able to override the filibuster in the Senate, which we'll probably not get to. So, any more seats would always be helpful and would solidify the majority for the Democrats. So yeah, I think we're going to have an interesting 2022. I think the best thing that Joe Biden could do right now is, and Kamala Harris could do right now for, winning those seats in 2022 is make sure that Americans are whole, right? Make sure they got housing, they got money in their pockets to be able to buy food and necessities, that they could work to make sure people are vaccinated, that, 18 months from now, we're out of this thing. We're not wearing face masks anymore, although I'll probably wear a face mask for the rest of my life. And because I'm like, I don't want a cold, I don't want flu, I don't want anything from anybody. But that they would stay really focused and meet the needs of Americans. That will be transformative. I think we're also contending for The party system is contending for working class voters right now on both parties. They need to be working on that. And if Joe meets those needs, then he'll re-solidify the Democratic base, give them a strong move, and for the first time in decades, could potentially have a majority in both the House and the Senate at the midterm elections when most of the reigning parties normally lose seats. So if he's, if he makes the right moves here, he could potentially set the country up for being strong moving forward and really trying to do a great recovery after being in this global pandemic.
Oh, man. That's a whole lot of something.
That's a lot of work.
Well, how about this? 3 of the Trump kids are thinking about running for the Senate. Well, 2 kids and a daughter-in-law.
Yes, I heard that.
North Carolina, Wyoming, and Florida.
Yep.
Ivanka in Florida, Don Jr. in Wyoming, Laura in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Man, all I got to say is, dear Republican Party, you deserve it all. I have no sympathy for you, and I know that there's not enough alcohol at the bar to help you drink this problem away, and you deserve every last bit of it.
Well, you heard that Sarah Huckabee Sanders is running for governor in Arkansas, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she was the chief liar in the Trump administration, right? She spent all of her time up there, trying to fight and look mean and defend Trump and support his lies. I mean, how can you elect somebody like that?
Well, listen. I mean, I'm just telling you. It's so. This is so. Again, look at the Lincoln Project folk like Steve Schmidt, who ran John McCain's presidential campaign, who is now a Democrat, working to try to defeat Republicans. I think that's what you're going to start seeing because, see, politicians, it's like a bird has to fly, a fish has to swim. What you're created to do, you're going to do it no matter what. And so these people, these are active politicians. Rob Portman and a Pat Toomey can't just go away, right? And if your party becomes an untenable place to stay, there really is no third party option. And some of these folk who are more moderate, man, you're going to start seeing more and more drifting. If the GOP starts electing these kind of Trump acolytes, oh man, this is, I guess, I don't know, they're trying to add by dividing. It doesn't work that way, right?
I mean, I don't know if you heard about what happened in Arizona. So Arizona censored, the Arizona Republican Party censored Cindy McCain. Wait a minute. Cindy McCain was like the sane one in politics, right? She was always really, really cool. Cindy McCain, former Senator Jeff Flake, and Governor Doug Ducey, who are all Republicans, were censored by the Arizona Republican Party because they publicly said, 1, that they would vote for Biden, and 2, they showed up at the inauguration. It wasn't really that they said that Cindy McCain, was very clear. Donald Trump hated her husband. And I can, who could blame her for being like, no, I'm not voting for this nut. I mean, Flake and Ducey, or Flake left the Senate because he was just sick of dealing with him.
Yeah.
And then Ducey does this. And so they said, look, when they showed up, and there was pictures of the 3 of them together at the inauguration. And now they were censored by the state Republican Party. And the Republican Party there is run by a Trumper.
Well, look, we got to take a break. When we come back, I want to finish this part of the conversation because there is a responsibility that corporate America has to step in on this, right? And they've got to, right now they've done some things, but I want to talk about something even more local about Comcast and what they have done and what they have not done because it's important. You can't keep funding white supremacy and get away with it. All right? We'll be right back on the other side of the break. It is the Power Hour.
Hi, this is John.
Hi, this is Juanita, owners of JD's Auto Body and Painting. We're located at 6300 Wayne Avenue, right there at the intersection of Wayne and Washington Lane.
We really like to thank all you WURD listeners for the support that you've given our business, and we really hope to see you in the future.
JD, tell them about our products and services we have.
We have a new state-of-the-art paint shop along with our body shop and detail shop. We can help you with the dents and scratches from the winter season.
Come to JD's Auto Body and Painting. Come on out and check us out. We're still still honoring that WURD 10% discount. Give us a call, 215-848-5949. Again, 215-848-5949.
Thanks again for supporting our business. We really appreciate you.
See you at JD's Auto Body and Painting.
Keeping you informed. As a community service, WURD Radio and the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium wants to keep you informed about where you can get no-cost, barrier-free COVID-19 testing this week. Monday, January 25th from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. at SEPTA Suburban Station, 16th and JFK Boulevard. Tuesday, January 26th from 3 p.m. till 7 p.m. at Esperanza Health Center, 4417 North 6th Street. And Thursday, January 28th from 3 p.m. till 7 p.m. at Mastery Charter School, Cleveland Campus, 3701 North 19th Street. Stay informed and stay well with WURD Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by Audible. Not too bad here in Philadelphia. Just the usual volume beginning to pick up westbound University through 30 through the ongoing construction. Eastbound side, not a bad ride. The Boulevard Route 1 southbound from 9th down through Fox. Watch for slowing through that work zone. Westbound Vine Expressway, Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway getting busy. Southbound 95 delays building Common down through Bridge and Allegheny through Girard. Northbound looking good. 42 and 295 both ways. New Jersey in good shape. 55 northbound north of Deptford into 42. Bit of volume picking up. Audible delivers the best audio entertainment all in one app. Choose a plan that's right for you and make it a year of Audible originals, best-selling audiobooks, popular podcasts, and more. Start listening free with a 30-day trial at audible.com. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
Now, a WURD weather update. Here's NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Crystal Cly.
Good morning. We're looking at just some wintry weather passing through the area early on this morning. Pretty quickly, by mid to late morning, turning over to just rain. So we're not really talking much in terms of accumulation. Some slippery spots possible, untreated roads, but that's primarily north of Philadelphia. The forecast high is 38 degrees today. By mid to late afternoon, the system starts to move out, and we dry out for tonight. A low of 32 degrees. Into Wednesday, a high of 44 degrees with mostly cloudy conditions. I'm NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Crystal Cly with your most accurate forecast. Count on it.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. Dwayne Royster and Mark Kelly Tyler here, breaking it down every morning from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. All right, wait a minute. You were picking up on something and we had to get off. What were you talking about?
Well, so listen. There are a couple of ways in which, you have to punish people in this moment for what happened over the last several months. One is at the ballot box, right? And so that means then that, for those of us who, where we're in places where some of those 147 Republican objectors to certifying the Electoral College, you got to punish them by voting them out. That's the first thing. But a lot of them are in safe Republican districts. Right. So there's only so much you can do there. But the other part is it's about stopping corporations from sending their money. A lot of these corporations have PACs. So Amazon, General Motors, General Electric, Comcast. So a lot of them suspended their giving to the 147. Right. But we don't know what that means, right? Because ain't nobody raising money anyway. You just came out of an election. So if you're talking about you're going to suspend it for 6 months, and then 6 months from now, you're going to give me a new cycle of funding and back pay, that's like, quote unquote, we're taking the dirty cops off the streets. They'll be on administrative leave and they get all their money anyway. That is not what we're talking about. We're talking about it has to be a permanent cut, that you have to stop giving them money, period. And so I've been talking to some folk who are really doing some work around this. They estimate that you could almost take about $200 million out of the pockets of not only those federal, elected officials, but statewide as well, people who are receiving this PAC money and who voted to decertify these votes. Now, let us never forget that this was not just an attack against the Democratic Party. This was not about Joe Biden. This was always about disenfranchising black votes once again. What we saw at the Capitol, that lynch mob run in there and try to like literally stop the proceeding, stop the counting of you. No, those black votes were stolen. We know that they lied. How? Well, because they black. That's how. That was, and I said it before on the show, you know, about in Camden, New Jersey in 1870, the year before the riot in Philadelphia that killed Octavius Catto, that off-duty cops in Philly, just like off-duty cops in Philly in 2021, in 1870, off-duty cops went over to New Jersey into Camden and beat up a bunch of black men who were trying to vote. Those brothers reformed their ranks and they still went and voted. And when they couldn't stop them from voting, they then took their votes in the ballot box, a wooden box, outside in the streets and smashed it to pieces and scattered their votes. That's what we witnessed. Now, in 1870 and in 1871, they didn't check it. And by 1876, Reconstruction was over. They cut a deal, left black folk hanging. The feds pull out of the South. The rest is history. It's called Jim Crow. And we're at that moment again. And so corporate America has to make a real decision. So, for example, I think it's disingenuous for a Comcast to say, we're not going to give money to the 147 federal people who voted to overturn the votes because we think that's wrong. But you haven't made any statement about what you're going to do with the 40 statewide Pennsylvania state reps who also gave fuel on that smoldering fire by voting against certifying our votes in Philly and in Pittsburgh and in Harrisburg and in Reading and Lancaster, York, wherever you find these pockets of black folk, right? You can't just do the one, you have to do both. And so we need to start mounting a campaign, even if it means boycotting these specific companies. I'm not open for like just boycotts that are just like unending and you don't know what the target is, you don't know when it's over. It's very clear. These companies here, until you make a statement and stop funding these people into perpetuity, then we can't do business with you anymore. Because I'm not going to be about paying for white supremacy and for those, I'm not going to give my money to people who want to then take my vote away. That's where we have to go, my friend.
Absolutely. It's one of the reasons why I don't shop at Home Depot, because the CEO of Home Depot was one of the people that was a big Trump supporter. I actually affirm that idea. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, in this particular circumstance, corporate America holds a great deal of responsibility. I was actually disappointed to find out some of the companies that were actually supporting and writing checks to the PACs for some of these federal legislators, and are also doing likewise at the state level. So I'm all for forming a collective boycott of certain businesses, in much the same way that Leon Sullivan brought Tasty Cake to its knees, literally almost bankrupted them, almost 50 years ago. We might need to think about that today. Black consumers are incredibly important to a lot of these businesses. And if African Americans don't, and African Americans and our allies don't use their services, right? Because they're white folk, they're Latino, Latina, Latinx folk that will, support us in this. Some of our Jewish siblings will support us in this. If we decide and make an intentional move and can really point to the numbers of people and how it's going to impact their bottom line if we boycott their services, then we could actually have some real impact and perhaps even get corporations out of doing some political funding, which would be the better way to go all the way around.
Absolutely. So I see people on Facebook Live chiming in. They want the list to be generated, need more information. Listen, if you think that's a good idea, let me know. I mean, I'm rolling this out because I have been in conversation with folk, and this is a real thing that is being contemplated, bringing together a coalition of not only, historically black civil rights types organizations, but a lot of other folk who are not typically political in this moment, black clergy folk across the country. And as you said, our allies. Listen, Trump did not win the popular vote in either election. So there are more Americans than not. I mean, they weren't just trying to disenfranchise black votes. They were also trying to disenfranchise white votes, Jewish votes, Latina votes, and Asian American votes. Anybody who voted for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they were trying to disenfranchise. There are more of us than there are of them. And I'm not just making it up. The numbers bear it out. So corporate America, you've got to back them in a corner and make them make a decision. So Because I think the way you have to frame this is, what side of history do you want to be on? I mean, do you want to be on the history? Are you going to try to argue with me that in 1870, when they smashed the ballot box in Camden, that those guys, the off-duty Philly cops, were on the right side? Of course not. Who would try to argue that? Not even Republicans would take that side. And yet, this is where we are today. We can't allow people to be neutral in this moment. That's what happened on the rise of Nazi Germany. People just said, well, folk will work it out. We can't afford that. And we got to call this for what it was. This was a white supremacist attack trying to keep, quote unquote, their country. It's our country. Yeah, it's yours and it's mine. This land is your land. This land is my land. You know that song? So, all right, folks say they're ready. I'm looking on there. People say they're ready. You ready? You ready, Royster?
Dude, let's do it. I'm all for it. I got no problem doing this.
We already got the name for it. Leon said it. Selective Patronage.
There you go.
So I may not be able to, Comcast, if you're the only, game in town as far as like my cable. Well,
Verizon.
Yeah, there you go. See, there you go.
Or a lot of people are just using the whatchamacallit, the ones you can just buy what you want right now to get the digital signal. So there's all kinds of ways to work around that.
Yeah, absolutely. So listen, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna, because we got to wrap up, but I just wanted to say something to kind of focus on this for a minute. You've often talked about the AME Church and what happened during this. I think it was the Spanish flu here in Philadelphia, and what they did to actually help take care of Philadelphians. And it's written about in the history books. And I was thinking about what you were saying about Dr. Ayla Stanford earlier. And I actually hope that my grandchildren are reading about her and what she did here in Philadelphia in the years to come, and that she's a history maker. And it's not, we want her to be acknowledged, but sometimes the best thing that we can do is make sure that her history is written and the story is told about how she saved lives in Philadelphia and transformed this place. 25, 50 years from now, her name is still being rung. The Black Doctors, the COVID-19 Consortium, is still talked about, and the inventive, creative, imaginative, entrepreneurial ways that Black folks show up in times of crisis to be able to deliver for one another. So I just wanted to end the show with that, and thinking about her and celebrating her and all the people that have stood with her, Reverend Mitchell and others that are making sure that Black folk in this COVID-19 are taken care of. You've been listening to the Power Hour with Mark Kelly Tyler, Dwayne David Royster. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. to bring you the latest in news happenings around Philadelphia and, of course, our opinion. Thank you to Kwesi Mathis, our producer, for holding it down. Thank you, Dr. Tyler, for doing everything you do each and every day. All of our folk that are checking us out both on YouTube, Facebook, and all of our listeners out there over the airwaves. Stay tuned now for Wake Up for Word with Solomon Jones. And do like Dr. Stanford. Go out. Change the damn world. Because if you don't, nobody else will. Peace.